Check the description for the following discount codes. This is the first in a series of 3 videos featuring Next Level Racing products that they consider sort of Christmas related items, something you might buy for somebody for Christmas. The first of which is the GTLite Junior, designed for children, so Christmas gifts. The price is £149, so it definitely falls into that sort of Christmas present affordability category for perhaps the average family. Obviously there's people who that would be far too much for, you know, in lesser financial situations, and to people with shed loads of money, they wouldn't be buying this, they'd be buying in one of the aluminium profile cockpits for £800. So everyone's circumstances are different, but I agree with Next Level Racing's sort of perspective when it comes to Christmas affordability and something you might consider to buy for your child. So today we're looking at this. I've then got a wheel stand, one of their light wheel stands to look at, and then I think it's the Formula Pro Light adult size cockpit as well. So all things that are in that, you might get it for your child, your boyfriend, your girlfriend for Christmas, husband, wife, whatever. So nothing too fancy. Anyway, this is what we have here today. I may as well show you the box as I'm holding it in case any of you are interested. Bottom left-hand corner here, height range 90 to 150 centimetres or 35 to 59 inches, and estimating 5 to 12-year-olds, breathable materials and optimised for entry-level electronics. Now, obviously, I'm not a child and I'm about 186 centimetres, so I should be far too big for this. I am, however, going to attempt to sit in it and have a little drive. I don't happen to have a child just laying around to throw in for testing purposes, unfortunately, so I will have a go myself. But what have we got? We've got the box, we've got a typical Next Level Racing set of instructions, fairly hefty paper affair here, which is always good to see. I really don't like QR code only instructions. We've got this is how it comes out the box. So what we've got, 4 pieces. Shouldn't take me very long to put it together, should it? We've got the seat itself, we've got the wheel deck, which I may as well show you. It's actually relatively thick, considering this is aimed at children, and it's all pre-drilled for, the major brands, Logitech, Thrustmaster, Fanatic, etc. What else have we got? We've got what I'm going to call the pedal tray, which is just these 2 sliding rails here that you can adjust, backwards and forwards, which means you can pretty much fit any set of pedals. It's all this tubular, I'm probably going to assume it's steel construction. Feels a little bit heavy for aluminium. An alley tube might be a bit flexible and wobbly as well. And I'm going to assume that this, looking at the picture, is, actually, I think this is 2 pieces. I think we've got the back leg here, and I think we've got the front leg here. Again, steel tubing. Now, what we've got to remember when looking at this, once I get it together, which we'll do in a minute, we've also got a little bag of tools, screws, bolts, some straps and a couple of thumb screws there as well. Yeah, what we need to remember is that with this product in particular, excuse me, I've got a slightly itchy throat today. Yeah, with this product in particular, I'm not going to be harsh on it with a view to flex, rigidity, stiffness, things like this, because not only is it cheap at 149 quid, less actually with my discount below, it's aimed at children. This needs to be able to fold away, for a kid to fold away, ideally, and put it away either in their bedroom, if perhaps they use it upstairs, or if they're using it in their parents' front room, it needs to be able to fold away and be light enough and small enough whereby it can be taken back up to the kid's bedroom for storage, or just put out the way in the front room in a cupboard or something. I mean, with foldable cockpits, there's always a compromise as far as rigidity goes anyway, but even more so with one that's aimed at children, because children are not as strong as fully grown adults, and the cockpit itself is obviously smaller and lighter. So, if your child then turns out to be the best sim racer in the world, by all means buy them a GT Amiga Prime Lite, you know, upgrade them to something that's solid that you can put high torque wheelbases on. This is not designed for that. This needs to be light, it needs to be foldable, which it is, and it needs to be fairly adjustable because kids that are 5 and kids that are 12, well, they could be this high, or they could be 12-year-olds almost as tall as me. So what this needs to be able to do is adjust and accommodate children of various sizes. So yeah, different objectives for this cockpit versus something that I would normally be reviewing for an adult. Anyway, enough waffle. I'll get these 4 or 5 pieces thrown together and we'll have a quick look around it, as always, and then we'll get some sim racing equipment on it, and I'll see if I can squeeze myself into it to actually have a little go. Well, that was super easy to put together. I think it probably took me 15 minutes and I didn't really need to read the instructions. I mean, just seeing a picture of it assembled shows you where the bits go. And as I pointed out earlier, you've got front leg, rear leg, and then just like your wheel deck, and it all just slots together. Super easy. I dare say a child could potentially even assemble their first sim racing rig. Even all the bolts and nuts that I had to do up were already in place. The actual bag of nuts and bolts here are spares. There'll be some in there, I'm sure, for securing your sim racing equipment to it, but there's like a huge M8 bolt here that you just would never use for securing sim racing equipment, and would replace perfectly one of the bolts on this if you were to lose one. So there's even a pair of spare thumb screws, again, that are used to adjust everything. So I think they're kind of imagining children, you know, being a little bit careless. Mum, Dad, I've lost my thumb screw, I can't do my pedal tray back up, and them going, well, what we're going to do now, son? But yeah, they actually include some spares. So that's a nice little touch. So let's have a quick close-up walk around before I then get some sim racing equipment on here. And I have already sat in it. I think I can actually squeeze myself in and have a little test race. So it hasn't collapsed under my weight, and I reckon I'll just be able to get in there and have a little play. But let's have a quick look around. So starting from the top, as always, the seat it's like their aero mesh material that they have in some of their other seats. At least this outer layer appears to be. It's very, very ventilated. It's, you know, it's quite thin. It doesn't feel firm like any of their other sort of racing seats, and obviously you don't have any bolsters or anything like that. You know, this is designed to slide on here for ease of adjustment, and I imagine it probably just slots, you know, from the top down onto here as well. If we look at the back, you can kind of see that's quite apparent. And again, the back of the seat is the fabric, so very lightweight. All contributing to ease of folding away and sort of storage for kids, really. And again, surprisingly, I have sat in it. It's actually relatively comfortable, so I can't really complain about that. But you've got some nice red stitching. You've got the Next Level Racing logo there, down on here, and as we saw at the back there, it says GTLite Junior, which is quite cool. So as far as angle adjustment goes, you've got these locking pins here that you just pull out, and there's 3 holes. So the highest hole, which is what it's in now, is the most reclined, and that will be for taller children or kids that like to just sit reclined. And then as you go into the next 2 holes, of course, you're lifting the seat up and forward a little bit. You can actually take them both out and it will go really quite far back, which I'll show you later. But that's super simple, super easy. They can't lose the pins because they are attached via cable ties and key rings. I mean, it's not the neatest solution in the world, but you know, it works. It's not going to fail. They can't lose anything. So that's how that's done. This rear leg, much as I surmised, just slots in. What is interesting is this has like a plastic sleeve inserted into here that this then slots into. When we go around to the front here, where the front leg slots in there, there's no plastic sleeves. They're just metal into metal. I'm not sure why they've done that. I mean, both works fine. Like metal on metal here wouldn't have been an issue, and if they'd chosen to use plastic inserts there, that wouldn't have been an issue either. So I don't know why that is the case. Maybe someone in the comments can speculate. Perhaps you know something I don't. But yeah, just something I noticed when I put it together. Then as we come along here on this rail, you can slide. I'm not going to be able to do it one-handed because I need to move the other side at the same time. But basically, you undo the thumb screw, this will slide all the way along here, literally as far back. You know, you can even squash up the seat if you really needed to, if you had a very, very short-legged child. And then the wheel deck on its uprights, same thing, that can slide along with it. So you can really make this space very, very small for young, small or short children. We have typical wheel plate adjustment, wheel deck adjustment, where you can undo these 4 screws and they can be repositioned here and here to move this whole plate forwards and backwards. You probably never need to because this has so much adjustment in it. And then underneath, there's another thumb screw there, and that's on like splines, so you can slacken it off and then you can adjust the tilt as well. You can also put this plate round the other way if needed, depending what wheelbase you are choosing to use with it. As I mentioned earlier, the pedal tray is just these 2 sliders. Again, a bit awkward to do with one hand, but they go all the way down, all the way up, literally as far as they can go before they hit something. So in this case, it'd be here and all the way down here, probably where that little sort of slight bulge in the metal is there. So huge range of adjustment. And this is exactly what we need when we're targeting something at children from a very young age up to sort of teenage years, you know. The height of a child, the size of a child varies so much. So far, everything looks great. Like I say, I'm not gonna worry too much about stiffness and rigidity, although that's actually not moving hardly at all. I'm sure with a wheel on the top, there'll be some wobble. But again, we're talking the strength of a child and entry-level wheel bases. So it's not gonna be a worry, I don't think, is it? So far, so good. Let's get some sim racing equipment on there, see if I can squeeze in and have a little go. Well, as you can see, I actually fit in this kid's cockpit. Is the driving position ideal? No, of course it's not, but it's enough for me to be able to give it a go. Now, I've got the wheel deck all the way forward and the pedal tray front end assembly also all the way forward, although that doesn't actually need to be because I had to then pull the pedals on their sliders back towards me a little bit. The seat is in its most reclined position, which for me is still a bit too upright. I'm kind of, you know, hinged a little bit, like too much at the front, but I can test it. And what surprises me is the seat is actually quite wide. I'm fairly broad and I expected it to feel kind of tight, and it's real. I know there isn't much in the way of like a bolster as such either side, but the seat is actually, it looks to be like the width of me. So more than wide enough for any child. And I guess having a slightly wider platform sort of aids with stability because it is fairly stable side to side. And the pedal tray, this is a 90 kilogram load cell. I can actually give it as much as I possibly need to and can brake. I haven't had to turn the braking down in a Assetto Corsa competizione to do this. I can fully use the 90 kilogram load cell. Now, the bottom of the seat slides back a little bit when I do that, but only to the point where, you know, I physically can't move back any further into the seat. Again, this is all kind of irrelevant. Kids won't be running, they're not as strong as me. They're not going to be running the same sort of, you know, weight on their load cell pedals, if they even have load cell pedals. So pedal tray's great. Fit any pedals, plenty of adjustment, awesome. Size-wise for children, you'll fit anybody in this without issue, as you can see, because I'm fitting here and now, so that's great. Typically the sun has just come out. Hopefully that's not going to come through and wipe me out. Anyway, back to the cockpit. I've adjusted this at an angle so that I can get a reasonable position for driving, and yes, of course, I can wobble the wheel deck like mad on these uprights. This is completely expected and completely acceptable for its price point and its target audience. Children are not as strong as me. They may be using something like a CSL DD because these aren't mega money, or they might be using an equivalent direct drive wheelbase, may even be a bit cheaper, you know, Mozart R3 or something, because what you've got here is quite a long shaft that comes out of the base before it's onto the wheel. So I've got a lot of leverage here, which doesn't help with me being able to wobble, you know, this around. If I try and wobble it here, it's much harder to wobble than it is doing it with a steering wheel. But side to side play and wobble, there's actually very little, considering that's all there is holding it there. So it's really only this sort of front to back wobble that's even a thing. And yes, it is noticeable, you know, when you're driving, which I'll do some of now whilst I speak. If I glance down, I can see as I'm steering, it is moving. But again, this is aimed at children, not, you know, professional sim racers or even adults. And if you've got something like a Logitech or a Thrustmaster wheelbase, where the steering wheel's much closer to the base, you'll have a lot less leverage acting on this upright section. And so it'll wobble a lot less. But what actually surprises me is that in spite of that wobble, I can still race. Like, it doesn't actually bother me that much. What bothers me more is my seating position. You know, when the feedback's coming through the wheel, I'm still getting the force feedback. I'm still getting, like, almost as much detail as I would from this wheelbase fitted to a solid rig. Because that's what happens with flex and wobble, is that your sort of finer details, the nuances, you might say, of the force feedback, kind of get lost in the flex and the wobble. You know, the wheelbase puts out what it puts out, and instead of that being directly translated to your hands, it moves what it's bolted to kind of first. But in spite of that, it's not a bad experience. And if I was a kid back in the 70s/80s when I was a kid, and I, on Christmas Day, opened up one of these GTLite junior cockpits to strap my Tomy Turbo to, I would have been over the moon. So I have absolutely no problems recommending this cockpit so far as a Christmas present for one of your children. We will, of course, fold it away in a second and see just how easy that is. But having looked at these, I just caught a slide there, for example. No issues at all. Yeah, I imagine folding it away is not going to be difficult either. So we'll do that now. I will, of course, actually just show you, you can recline the seat further by pulling these pins out completely. Now, that, of course, whilst it's much more comfortable, and perhaps if I wanted a nap, this is how I would sit, I wouldn't want to race like it. But you could. I could now undo these and bring this like to here. Do you know, I'd almost be, if I had a headrest, I'd almost be in a formula position right now. So the options there if you have a particularly long child or you want to have a play around yourself. Anyway, let's get out, which is also easier with that seat folded all the way back. And let's fold it away, see how easy that is, shall we? I imagine pretty easy because there's not a whole lot to the cockpit. I do love the simplicity of this, which does make, you know, that makes sense when we're talking about something that a child may use. You don't want it to be too complicated for them to adjust or set up or pack away. Really, do you? Get that USB out, there we go. So, get these wires out of the way. Get these ones wrapped around the pedals, because that's how I tend to store these. So yeah, £149, a little bit less with my discounted link, which now applies globally and not just in the US like it did a while ago. Right, that's the pedals. Oh, I shouldn't have put that in, should I? Thankfully, I didn't tighten it up too much. Still not the best quick release mechanism that they come up with here, was it? Right. Now, the instructions say, from memory, that you slide the pedal tray assembly, or this whole front assembly, you slide that all the way to the back as much as you can. Maybe I should have slackened them off a bit more. I don't know how much they expect us to squash this up. Probably just like, I don't know, sensible-ish amount, maybe like that. And then they say that we fold this down like that. I think it's that way. I might have to check the instructions. I don't want to get it wrong. It's not that complicated, but the alternative is to fold it the other way. I think it's this way, because then if you still had your wheel attached, yeah, that would make sense, because otherwise it'd be like that. Don't be stupid, Cole. Yeah, it would have to be that way, because then I could have just left the steering wheel attached, because you've got all this room here. Now, they also say to slide the pedals themselves all the way forward, but that would be if they were to be in the way of your steering wheel. For me, being tall and an adult, my pedals are already fairly far forward, and the steering wheel would quite happily fit in there, look, if it was still attached. So in fact, I'm actually going to reattach it just because I can. Yeah, so as you, it actually spins around, so there's plenty of space there for whatever wheelbase and steering wheel you've got attached. And then I think they say you just fold the seat forward. And I think that is it. There's also a strap in the box, which I've left in the box, because then you put a strap round it and you could then just pick it up and it would all be strapped together like this. Or you could potentially pick it up the other way. I don't know which way makes more sense. Probably that way, actually, because the weight feels kind of feels lower this way. So it doesn't fold away like ridiculously slim or anything, but it does fold away. And of course, how heavy it is now, because it's reasonably weighty, will depend on what sim racing equipment you've got bolted to it. There's no shift amount, by the way, in case anybody wondered. At least not included. And I mean, maybe they do one. I haven't actually checked. But yeah, it's certainly not one included. So yeah, that is as folded away as it gets. I will just double check. But I mean, there's not really anything else to fold, but it's always good to be accurate with what I'm saying. So, loosen all T-junctions, slide the pedal frame assembly to the rear, which I did. Repeat for the wheel assembly, moving that to the front, which it already was because I'm tall, I had it all the way forward. Loosen the large knob under the wheel plate and tilt it forwards. Forwards towards... Oh no! They do actually, okay, no. I was wrong about this. It says to tilt it away from you and then put the seat down like that. Oh, okay, because then it folds slimmer. And then you can do that, and then you do this back up. Okay, that's actually quite a bit slimmer in that configuration. And again, you can either go, in fact, this way, do you need a strap? No, you don't even need a strap because it holds itself. So you can either pick it up that way, or I think that, yeah, this would be my preference. Pick it up that way. You could still strap it to sort of get rid of this flexi situation if you wanted. But yeah, that's how you fold it away. So that makes a little bit more sense because now the seat back is all the way forward. And so then again, to get it out, you go back like that, bring it up like this, put your locking pins in for whatever angle you prefer. And again, this is fairly quick adjustment for different height children as well, isn't it? And then you would put that to where you want it and do it up. And then you just slide it. Have I done these back up? Yes, I have. Slacking them off again. And then slide it back out to wherever your child would have it. Somewhere kind of in the middle there for an average sized child. So, yeah, apart from it not being the very slimmest when folded away, but again, that's partly because of my hefty old wheelbase. If that was a Logitech G920, much slimmer, I've really got no complaints. The pedal tray sort of assembly and front end is very solid, even with 90 kilogram load cell pedals on. The seat is surprisingly comfortable, even for me. If I was a child, it would be way more comfortable, and plenty of adjustment there. Huge amounts of adjustment for the steering wheel, both in angle and forwards and backwards. And same for the pedals, really. You can slide it a huge distance. There's no angle adjustment for the pedals. This is just the angle it's at. and it folds away and sets up pretty quickly, and overall it's very light and easy to use. So yeah, I think this gets a thumbs up from me. So as I say, link in the description should you want a fairly cheap and reasonably sturdy foldable cockpit for one of your kids for Christmas. This is probably the one I'd recommend. As always, thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.